Thank you very, very much, Shirley. It's a great honour. You've bestowed on us this evening with your wisdom. I'd like to introduce Sue Gordon, Order of Australia, and a well-known person from the area, Commissioner for Aboriginal Planning, the first full-time Aboriginal magistrate in the state's history, and as a result of the work with Aboriginal people in the Communities Affairs, she's received the Order of Australia in 1993. And Sue has been very active in things like Sister Kate, and she's going to talk a little bit about her growing up in Queen's Park and her involvement in that project.
Thank you. I don't play the didgeridoo, but then women are not allowed to anyway. I don't dance, I don't sing, but I do a lot of talking. I'm like Richard. If people are booking me for conferences or flights on planes, I say use the doctor part, because I might get an upgrade, and it also impresses people. And I'm fundraising, so all the invitations and things go out with the doctor bit on it. Mine's an honorary doctorate from UWA, where I did my law degree. But Richard's very correct, and the interesting thing about tonight is we're all related, as Richard well knows, but my cousin Gwen is here too. Gwen is a Meekatharra girl, but she currently lives in Alice Springs. And so we're what's called Ngurru Wadjuri people. It was 30 years after I was taken away. The government had kept an eye on me from the age of 2 with my mum in the Meekatharra area, and I was born on Balili Station. And I'm this little light-skinned desert blonde hair at the age of 2, and the government in my file is keeping an eye on me. Inspector so-and-so, so-and-so, and then another government officer. And I thank God for public servants back in the 40s, because of their copybook handwriting and all their letters that they wrote, and all the files have every detail possible on them. And that's the only way that Aboriginal people like myself who were taken away know our history, because they wrote it all down. There was also the derogatory comments about Aboriginal mothers and Aboriginal people as well. But my quick history of before I came to Queen's Park was I was 4 and Mum was at Mount James, and the decision had been made, even though the station people had said Mum was looking after me, that I was to be removed and taken to Moore River, Magumba. And somewhere along the line, someone decided too light to go to Magumba, the old colour thing, and I was called an octroon under the Act, you see. You're either a quarter caste or an octroon, same thing, half caste, full bloods. So it was decided that this little octroon shouldn't go to Magumba, should go straight to Sister Kate's. So at the age of 4, taken from Mount James, handed over, so that's not just up the road in 1947, it's dirt tracks from Mount James to Meekatharra, it's about 4 to 5 hours. I'm 4, I don't remember any of it because post-traumatic stress. I'm handed over to a white lady in Meekatharra, who I didn't know, but her name was Mrs. Webb, according to my file, and remembering we're still in the war years, with my little ration book. And I don't know where we spent the day or anything like that, but at midnight, the country and western song, we're put on the midnight train to come to Perth. That's when the trains used to run from Meeka. So I get to Perth, I'm not taken straight to Sister Kate's, I'm taken to Mount Lawley, East Perth Girls Receiving Home, which is still there, which is still owned by the department, and it's on the corner of Lord and whatever the other street is. And then the next day I'm taken to Sister Kate's, and people wonder why there's post-traumatic stress. I'm 4. And the girls at Sister Kate's who looked after me, who are still alive, they said I was this skinny little kid. They used quite derogatory comments of the era. Skinny little gym legs, sand shoes, no laces, candles hanging right down my nose, and this desert blonde hair. So you can picture this little soul. And I was quite feral, apparently. And anyway, I'm settled into Sister Kate's, and about 4 or 5 years later, the George kids came down, the second wave of the George kids, also from Meekatharra, and they were all born on the rabbit-proof fence, and they were quite feral. And I'm at this now ripe old age of 8 dobbing them in because they're feral. And I got a good hiding, you see, because I was the same as them when I got there. So we were in Queen's Park, and Sister Kate's was different to every other institution. There was Clontarf, boys, dormitories, Castledare for younger boys, dormitories, St Joseph's, girls' home. There was Bindoon, the hellhole out there, where the kids actually made and quarried and built all of those buildings. For anyone who hasn't been to Bindoon, you should go, just to see the buildings which those kids slaved over. And of course the forgotten kids who came in and went to Fairbridge. So these were the institutions around Perth, and we were in cottage homes. Sister Kate had been at Parkerville, and at the age of 70, Archbishop Le Fanu had told her to rack off to go and live in a nunnery because she was too old. So she told the church to get lost, and with a farming family, Miss Phoebe Ruth Lefroy, Miss Lefroy bought some land at Bassendean and then at Buckland Hill. God, I wish they'd have hung on to that, because the price of land at Buckland Hill right now. Anyway, then Miss Lefroy bought 40 acres in Queen's Park. And that went from a centre street right up to Cross Street and back down to Welshpool Road, around the school. What's left now is 10 acres still owned by the Uniting Church, 5.35 acres of the group that I chair, the older original residents, and 5 acres, which a younger group after me, of bushland near the school. They've got that land, they're going to build a healing centre. So growing up in cottages in Sister Kate's, Sister Kate's idea was that we would be raised as a little family. So we had, much like Parkerville, boys and girls mixed as young kids in a cottage. There was a central kitchen where you went to get your meals, but you started work at primary school age because we were being trained, the girls as domestics and the boys were being trained as farmhands. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, little grade 1 kids cross to the big kitchen, stand on boxes to peel the veggies. Now young people in here would not know an era of where you didn't have frozen vegetables and all of those sorts of things, and they only buy potatoes that are washed. In those days, our boys had a farm at Kenwick, and so they just dug the potatoes up. We had the joy of them washing them, or if they were new potatoes, a lot of the old women will remember this, you had the little copper thing and you scraped the potatoes. And then beans, and you had to string the beans and slice them. Peas, you had to shell the peas. Now, that sounds quite easy if you've got a family of 2. When there's 100 kids at Sister Kate, that's a lot of beans to string when you're 6. We went to church every day before school. We were always late for school, but we never got into trouble because Sister Kate used to be there. And we'd be still singing songs and the bell would go at the school, but we weren't to hurry because we were in church. In the era that I was there, Aboriginal kids were not allowed to go to school by law, but Sister Kate demanded that we be allowed into that school. Now that's why this older generation of Sister Kate's kids place so much importance on education, because it is the future. It was our key to getting out of lots of things. But growing up in Sister Kate's wasn't as bad as some people think, because when it's the only home you've ever known, you don't have anything to measure it against. We had some tough times, but it was the era of the war years and people were coming out of the Depression. We used to think we had pretty crummy meals. Polony on Sunday, mashed potato, cabbage and tomato sauce every Sunday. You could remember every meal you had. And the cooks came and went, the house mothers came and went. They were usually in between husbands. So it was basically the bigger kids who looked after the little kids. And that's why the older Sister Kate's kids are extremely close, because we were brothers and sisters in the sense of the word. And we had the farm at Kenwick, where we had the bigger boys, Square Murray, Polly Farmer, Jack Hunt, all those boys who played for East Perth. And they used to grow the veggies and do all the hard work, and we still had chooks and veggies at Sister Kate's. older people here tonight, those with grey hair and those with the colour fairy, but still of an age, will remember you only had chicken at Christmas time. Not like these people today, they've got to go and have chicken every day. We had chicken at Christmas time, but it just didn't appear magically on the table. No, what happened, the boys used to go to the chook pen and they'd grab whichever chooks they could catch. We all went up the back of the wood heap to watch the boys ceremoniously chop their heads off, and then the boys would let the chooks run around without their heads on, and we'd watch this, and then they'd chop the feet off and chase you around. See, people remember. They'd chase you around with the sinews in the chook's leg, go like that. And then the girls had the unenviable job of lighting the big coppers, and we then had to pluck the chooks and gut them and then get them ready for the cook. I wasn't really a great chook eater at Christmas after all of that, but we only had it at Christmas time. The era that I was at Sister Kate's too, that was when we had Guy Fawkes in November, and we were just given our little penny farthings or whatever, and we stood around this bonfire and we weren't allowed to do anything except watch. And then we have all this occupational health and safety, so we don't have Guy Fawkes anymore. So all of those things went out the window. At Sister Kate's, which is now Homes off Centre Street, used to be a big meadow. See how English we were brought up. A meadow which had a pond in it, and we had cows which the boys milked every morning, so there was fresh milk. So in the meadow there was this pond, and there were juggies, and of course what comes with juggies in swamps? Leeches. And the boys used to get leeches and stick them on you. And also, as little kids, we were taught how to catch juggies. And how to catch juggies is a big boy standing behind you saying, "Put your hand in there, or I'll hit you." So we learned how to catch juggies. And then the boys played this trick on us little kids. They had a tin canoe that they'd made, and they would put 2 or 3 little kids in this tin canoe and push you out into the middle of the pond. Push you out, bear in mind, push you out, and leave us there and walk off. And we'd be screaming in this canoe, and slow learners here, we didn't realise that they'd actually walked out and pushed us out into the middle, and it wasn't even deep. I think it took a few months before we got the message. So we also had, we learnt about procreation at Sister Kate's. That's a nice way to talk about sex. We had cows, and to let cows have calves, Stan, who lived in Welshpool Road, which is now factories, it was all dairy down there, Stan used to walk the bull up once a year to Sister Kate's, so we'd all run around telling everybody the bull's coming, sit up on the fence and watch the bull perform, and then talk about this at school. And at Queen's Park, we were the bulk of the kids at the school, and so I think we ran the school. We were in most of the sports teams, and we had a lot of benefactors, Tock-H, Buffalo, Lions, all of those people used to come and show us. Once a month we would have movies. Tock-H used to come, because obviously in the 40s there was no television. You had the wireless which stood in the corner, a great big thing. And so Tock-H used to come and you would see the Movie Tone News, but not before you counted backwards, if you remember. See, everyone's remembering that, 10, 9, 8, 17. And then the Movie Tone, the Kookaburra would start, and you'd see that, we'd see a couple of cartoons, and perhaps a Roy Rogers, and we'd all have a good laugh and shove some food into us, and then go back to our houses. A lot of us got taken out on weekends. I got taken out by the Tock-H ladies. I used to go to South Perth, and I used to go to Vic Park for holidays. That was a long way away when you're only a little kid.